Turnkey, fully furnished, family fantasy.
So today on Air D&D, I have my wonderful friend Keith Stirn with me. He is the first DM that I ever had, and he welcomed me and a group of friends into the Lost Mines of Phandelver, and he kind of helped lead that session for us. So Keith, I wanted to welcome you officially onto the podcast. I'm super excited to have you today. This episode, I want to be upfront, is a thank you, not just to you, but I would say to every DM who kind of allows people to push those boundaries and do those weird, fun things, even if it is chaotic and kind of a journey to hop on.
Thank you. I feel very appreciated to be asked on the podcast.
So I would say that one of my favorite things about you as a dungeon master, when I first started playing with you, I think you were DMing. I don't know if it was for the first time, but I know you were getting into DMing and you were working alongside JD and we were having like this fun group. But I loved that you allowed for so many creative ideas and you really, I think, got me. I think something that both you and JD did a lot really well was getting me involved and including the story, both in combat and in like the way we actually played. And then allowing for like silly things. Like I think we had a friend of ours who she actually played as an animated carrot.
Yeah.
And so I love that you kind of just roll with the punches. And it was one of those things. As a DM, do you enjoy DMing more than playing?
No, I don't.
You don't at all.
I like it. I liked it a lot more than I expected. And Mines of Phandelver, that was the first time I DM'd. And I will say, I think I was more lenient with the goofy stuff because I was a new DM.
Yeah.
And I do have a hard time telling people no. But with like the whole carrot thing,
yeah,
honestly, I think it did turn out like really fun. And that is something I do want to do is like give players the permission to try a goofy out there idea and see where it goes. Yeah.
So you were the first person that I got to play under, and I learned a lot from playing with you. What do you feel like when you were going kind of on that journey? What were some of the advice you could give to like Keith back then that you now know now?
Brush up on the rules. You know, I still, as a player, don't have a total grasp on all the rules in D&D. And of course, there's a lot of rules.
There is.
I learn more rules every time I try a new class, you know. But yeah, it's good to like know the boundaries of the game because it's not just straight up role play where you're just saying this is what I do next and then this happens next. You have rules for combat, and if you want to, you can impose a lot of restrictions on like interactions. And sometimes I think that's another way that you can get the players more engaged is by giving them roles for just a normal conversation. Yeah, make sure you know the rules and don't be afraid to ask for more rules. I think if I was to DM another campaign, I would check myself, make sure that I was giving players more opportunities to like use their stats. Because I think asking players to roll more often, it might seem like a way of like telling them no, but really you're giving them more opportunities to use their stats and how they design their character. Because obviously a character who's very charismatic, you want to give them opportunities to like talk someone up, like pass an obstacle by being a real smooth criminal, you know?
Do you currently have any like advice that you would want to give to other people that are wanting to DM? Is there anything that you would say you think would be important for those at the table that are kind of learning as a group?
I would say just try it. If you want to DM like you've been a player for a while, it's a different experience, but it is fun, even though I prefer playing. The reason I prefer playing is just because you have to keep track of so much when you're DMing, especially during combat. And I personally like to not have too much going on in my brain at once.
Yeah.
I lose focus and all that. But DMing is fun, and yeah, you should definitely try it if you want to. You can just try like a one shot and see how it goes. If it goes horribly wrong, then hey, maybe DMing isn't my thing, but try it with people who enjoy the game too and are willing to give you lots of grace, who are patient, and are just willing to play along.
That's super important. I think that giving room for learning at the table, especially because it is a game that like has so many rules that I don't even fully all know, let alone understand all the rules and different complexities, especially when it comes to the intricacies of different classes or races. But yeah, I think allowing room for just the freedom to learn together. And even as someone who was extremely new, I felt like you were able to pick things up and learn really well and kind of grow as a group. So a lot of the experience for me felt, totally natural because I didn't know the game at all. So it was like I'm learning from you guys as you were learning more to play. And then I think the campaign series that we did almost for like a year, I think, with starting off with Tiber Fang and going into the story beats is probably actually one of my favorite campaigns that I've played so far.
Really?
So I really did enjoy it. Like it was really fun.
That's great.
One of my favorite things about you is you are more reserved, like as a person, but somehow at the table, you're able to like bring these characters to life. So I know you enjoy DMing, but you like being a player more. What would you say, before I ask you more about being a player, is your favorite or the main thing that you liked about DMing?
It was more of a struggle at first, trying to figure out how to make the players like the main characters. But I feel like closer to the second half of that year that we were playing that campaign, like I was looking for ways to like give you guys those moments where like you really felt like you were really stepping into the shoes of that character and just like knocking it out of the park, like whatever you're doing. Like I really wanted to do that for you guys. And I think that's one of the things I enjoy about D&D in general is like those character moments where they're well earned and everyone that's participating in making this story, just they're like so engaged and so in it, and like this is like an important moment that we're all invested in.
One of my favorite moments playing with you in that campaign was when you decided to kill us all. But also like you ended up bringing us back, but it was one of these like I never saw it coming. And so I kind of wanted to know, like, it was something that felt so orchestrated from like the beginning, because it was like 9 months in and then our characters kind of like just died. Would you say like you're the super, like, were you strategizing and thinking everything out? Or would you say that you're prepped all this stuff? Or would you say you more winged it and kind of let the story unfold and then kind of feed off of our ideas at the table?
Looking back, I can't remember when I decided that, they're going to die. I can't remember. I wish I could, but if I could let you in on like my method of prepping,
yeah,
such as it is I'm not sure if you noticed while I was DMing, but I really cared about like what song I had playing in the background. It was important to me because the way I would brainstorm and like write the story is while I was working, I would have like these songs that ended up being like the background music to the campaign. I'd have them playing while I was working, and I would think about like, what kind of story can I see transpiring to this music?
Ooh.
And when I came up with something like, like that's cool, like I would just like write down my note app on my phone. So I kind of worked backwards that way. So
no, that's super cool.
The music was the whole inspiration for me, honestly. And so that makes everything kind of a blur when I was like preparing things. But from the beginning, no, I wasn't planning on killing the party. Yeah, it kind of worked out that way, but I'm glad it seemed like
it did. It felt like the whole time. I mean, nobody who's listening was there, but like the whole time there's this story that's just playing out, and this one character that you think is like central to the party ends up turning on the party, essentially killing us off. And then we were resurrected and we came back, and that was part of the story, and it felt meaningful. It did not feel like when an author kills off a character and then they just randomly come back at the end of the book, but it was actually a really fun moment to play and to kind of learn and to adapt. And then even just, I love that you said that, the music, allowing the music to kind of play out some of the story elements. When I DM, I would say I've focused on music because I feel like some of the best moments I've played at the table were moments where the music really affected the environment, the dialogue. When it comes to prepping, like, do you prep dialogue parts, or were you just like thinking through these things in your head and then eventually like nailing it, improving it at the table?
No, I didn't really prep any dialogue. I honestly felt like if I did that, I would just get flustered and be like, oh, what do I say next? Like, yeah, I'm gonna say the right thing. I honestly just kind of flowed with it. I wrote down like, this character will confront the party at this point, and whatever happens, happens.
No.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember you sometimes like texting me like, what song did you use for this?
Yeah, no. There were songs that I like took and I was DMing another group and I was like, the song immediately began to play. We're playing the game and it set the tone. And there were a few times where it was like, oh crap, like what is about to happen? Because the music went all dark and eerie. And I think that's one of those things where it's like, you know, I think about in the 70s when they first started playing D&D, obviously having cassettes or 8-track or anything like that, like having music go along with D&D was probably really hard back then. It's not something that they would have been easily doing. And so we're kind of lucky in 2025 to be able to have, you know, music to set the tone and set the theme of the story. And I think it's a powerful tool. I think that's something that a lot of DMs, you know, sometimes sleep on. Like I've been in 3 different campaigns now, but I've been in groups where it's like they barely use music, and I've been in campaigns where they really use music. And I personally, I like music. I think I did a time travel one with you and JD. Yeah. I'm like, I want music. I want sound effects. Like,
that was so cool.
Things happening because I tend to be, I'm not necessarily a movie nerd, but like I love film and I love cinema. And so like, to me, what makes some of these scenes meaningful, like in Dune or in Lord of the Rings, or, you know, even I think of How to Train Your Dragon. It's like one of my favorite like animated movies is the musical score that goes along with the action moments that play out.
For sure. Yeah. As someone who doesn't have a lot of confidence in my ability to like set a scene, I feel like I leaned on the music a lot. Like you said, this song starts playing and this is now the mood for what happens next. Yeah.
So you said you prefer being a player, and I definitely get that because I feel like as a DM, it's very easy to bite off more than you can chew. And like, I've had it where like I somehow finagled myself into playing 5 or 6 different characters alongside the NPCs. And that was just like tiresome. But what are some of the things that, you know, really stand out to you when it comes to just playing as a player? Like, what are your favorite things?
I think making a character that embodies like a very specific part of yourself helps you understand that part yourself a little more. Jay, you mentioned like a trickster cleric. That was my character.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say Varnix is my favorite character I've ever played, because my wizard character from this last campaign, he just got so much time for me and him to have like some time to really flesh him out. And he feels more like a real character to me. But Varnix was so much fun because the trickster cleric, he was so self-centered and prideful, and I was able to like tap into that part of myself that I resent being a part of myself, but it is there, and I feel like I'm able to recognize when I'm like that now in real life because I spent so much time during that campaign trying to bring that out and embracing it instead of bringing it down, trying to conceal it, you know? And that always, I feel like, makes it easier for you to play a good character because you kind of understand where that character's coming from. It's not like you're completely exposing all of who you are, but you're bringing something that you can relate to, and then you can kind of build off of and just kind of take it all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something that was fun for me because it was just so easy. Like someone says like insults me, like an off comment or whatever. I'm like, why'd you say that?
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Just be mean and nasty, act like on emotional impulse, and it becomes a character.
No, that's awesome. What would you say is kind of the method that you go about? Like you think about making a character for a campaign, or you have an idea? Like what's the way that you typically start creating a character and bringing it to life?
Well, I always try to find like a hook. Like you can spend time putting together or like looking at races, classes, putting different combinations together all the live long day. But if there's nothing about a character that like makes you think, oh, I would really love to do that, then I probably won't go through with it. I had a character that I had planned for a campaign, but there wasn't really anything about them that made me think like what makes this character interesting to me.
Yeah.
For my lizard folk trickster cleric Barnix, the hook was that he's like trying to start a cult. Like he's attention seeking and he wants to start a cult around him so that he doesn't have to worry about providing for himself or anything, that everyone will just take care of him. He can live in luxury and feast, whatever. Very selfish. But to me, that was funny. Like I could play off of that, like in any situation. Like he walks into a tavern and immediately he's like, listen, everyone, listen to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's the most important thing to me about making a character is like having something that in any situation you can kind of fall back on, like this. Maybe it's just like a gimmick, like having some sort of gimmick, and you can like take that gimmick and make it more interesting and deep later on. But starting with something like that, like he's a cult leader, makes him fun and interesting to play, even like from the very beginning.
Yeah, no, I think that's super, super fascinating because I would say that I'm very similar. I tend to think of the person, like the personality, and then I try to figure out, okay, and sometimes it's based on a real life character. Like I like creating D&D characters based off of characters that I love. But a lot of times I think of like, what does this person look like? And then how does that affect what class they would be? Like even sometimes what subclass would they be based on who they are as a character? So it's like, like I had one character that I played with you where essentially he was a ladies' man and he was very shallow at the very beginning. But basically like he was just chasing like girls in every city, and he was very self-obsessed with himself and thought he was amazing and wonderful. And it's very similar to what you're kind of talking about, like playing off of like some type of like, well, maybe you would see as a fault in yourself. I was thinking like being pride or pompous or thinking like you're the best thing on earth, and actually playing that as a character, playing it out. But then eventually it turned into more of a story of him being kind of this tortured guy who lost his spouse and just didn't know how to deal with the loss of a significant other. And it turned into, he makes really bad decisions emotionally and he makes really bad decisions with women. But originally it was like, okay, what do I want to be? I once thought about him being a rogue because I was like, thieves, scallywags type of the Han Solo-esque character. But then as I learned more about Bard, I was like, I think he would actually be more of a bard. And then kind of deciding from there, based on the way I want to play him, role play wise, then deciding the class and trying to flesh that out and what does it look like and what subclass best fits with that. For newer players out there, what would be some, just kind of general tips and advice that you would give them for hopping into the game, learning it, playing it, picking their first class?
I think it's helpful to have a DM which is not their first time DMing.
Yeah.
Not their first time playing D&D.
Yeah.
I think you can have like a player who wants to get like a campaign started and they're willing to DM because they're the only experienced one. I think that can work out. But it's always good to have someone who has a sort of an idea of what they're doing and, make sure that you and the DM have like an understanding of what kind of content you're okay with. Like having those boundaries. What else? I think too, making a character that you think sounds cool. I know a lot of people think about it a lot. I mean, you can, but I was putting together a character just for fun with one of my friends a little while back, and he had like some goofy ideas, and he kind of wanted to like second guess on like, no, let's go with that and just run that, see where it goes as we complete the character, and let's just do what you want first. And if you decide later and want to change it, you can do that. But yeah, just pick a character you think is cool. And if you want to give him a silly name, don't be afraid to do that. My first character was named Bob. Yeah.
That's actually, I was going to ask you, what class was Bob?
Bob was a bard.
Bob the Bard?
Yeah.
And what race was Bob?
Bob was a human.
Oh my God. So he was Bob the Bard?
Yeah. The first campaign I played, the DM was playing, and I showed up just to watch. And I didn't think I was going to play. They asked me, like, do you want to play? I'm like, sure, yeah. And so one of the players who is a wizard, D&D, he like knows all the rules. He was helping me build this character. It took us maybe like 15 minutes, but he was playing and helping me build this character at the same time.
Yeah.
And jumped right in. And yeah, it was fun. Bob didn't have a lot of depth because I didn't really know what I was doing. Yeah, I mostly made him to be goofy. But then I did get a chance to make my own character, and that was Theobald the Wizard.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that was really my first character.
Your first character?
Yeah, that I actually made.
Yeah. So Wizard's the first character that you started with. Typically they say like the first class you pick says a lot about you. I don't know.
Really?
I don't know what wizard means. I feel bad because I think mine was I don't know. We did the box. So it's like technically my first class was a cleric because I played as a cleric in the Mines of Phandelver. But the first class I actually picked was a bard. And I think I read online that basically it means that like you're a little self-obsessed. So I kind of thought it was funny. But yeah, I guess they say like everyone has like their first class and it says a little bit about their personality. But I think it's interesting like what we all start with and kind of what becomes like the classes or the play styles that we tend to be gravitating towards. What would you say? Like, do you say that you're more of someone who likes role playing, or would you say that you like combat and mechanics more? What would you feel like makes a game really fun and enjoyable to you?
I think I lean on the side of liking roleplay a little more, but I have warmed up to combat quite a bit because JD as a DM has enlightened me to all the roleplay opportunities that there are in combat and encouraged me to take opportunities during combat to let your character shine through a bit. So I would say I can enjoy combat now.
Yeah.
But for a while it was really hard for me to sit through
all the math.
Yeah, the math. And sometimes it's hard to wait your turn. And like you make a plan what you want to do and you kind of sit there and wait and then it's your turn like, oh, what did I want to do?
Yeah.
You know?
Or I hate it when I've thought like I have this really cool thing I want to do and you're like waiting for your turn to come around.
Yeah.
And then somebody else already kills the NPC. So it's like, well,
oh man, I had a plan.
I know. Gonna have to log that idea for later. Log that, I just wanted that delicious moment in the moment and thought about it. It's funny. I have two groups that I played with and you're in one of those groups and you guys tend to be super big on role play. And then the other group of guys that I played with, they're all about combat. They're like, we just want to fight stuff. Like we want bigger bosses and bigger. They're like, I want more dungeon mechanics. It's like they want like a World of Warcraft raid in the middle of D&D, which I try to humor them and go that way a little bit and try to like have like random things that are happening in the dungeon or in the combat encounter. But I would say personally for me, I tend to lean more towards role play. Like I think, what is it? We've had 2 sessions in our new campaign and I don't think we've had any combat. It's mostly been,
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's mostly been storytelling. And though I like combat and I think there's a place for it, I actually find it to be more interesting the ways that you can use your character's, class and non like combat based abilities to storytell. Like, yes, you're a ranger or yes, you're a fighter or yes, you're a warlock and you have these spells and abilities. So how does that affect the way your character acts, thinks, would, choose to do something like, and then there's even times where I'm like, I would love to subvert those expectations. And then even if it means like at the cost of the character sheet a little bit, but it being like an interesting, like having a barbarian who's actually really intelligent, but he like wants to beat up on people and wants to like, he still goes into rage, or he like gets mad like whenever like someone doesn't finish. Like I had this idea. I was like, he rages when someone doesn't finish like what they're saying, like if they stop mid sentence or something. But he's actually really smart, and he's kind of like a nerd, but he has the super, in my mind, I think of like the Bruce Banner idea, like super smart, but then goes into a rage, but has ridiculous intelligence. Though combat wise and maybe stat sheet wise,
not optimized.
Not optimized at all. But that's the thing. I don't think D&D is about optimization. Like I don't think it's about like, it's not a video game. We're not trying to min max. Like there are people who are like that. Like I have a friend who's like, I was DMing this group and he's like, yeah, like the way I built my character, it feels like I'm not doing as much damage as everybody else. And I was like, well, because you're not, but that's okay. Like, you're what role your character plays. Like you're playing more of a character that's more of like a tanky role. And so it's like, you're going to be the person that's going in and actually fighting in the midst of combat and taking some of those bigger hits because you have more HP or a higher armor class. And that's going to affect the way that you play. But I think what you said is totally valid. Like making sure that you have characters that feel meaningful to you, that have something at the core of them, that have something at the root of them. Because you can. It's like, I kind of think of it as like the Oblivion screen or the Skyrim screen. Like you can customize a character 100 different ways. Yeah. But if there's not something that's kind of like not always a gimmick, but like something that makes them what they are at the root of them, I think it's harder to like bring them to life in game. And I think it's one of those things where it can become challenging in both ways, where like if you have a gimmick, falling into the gimmick too much.
Oh yeah, for sure. I always have a banana.
Yeah.
I'm so funny.
Yeah. Like I was like, okay, I want to have a bard, but he can't be a pig all the time. Yeah. Like he can't be chasing girls all the time. And there were things where I'm like, I want to develop on it, like having them, like every girl he went after was one of the girls from like Mambo Number 9, and like trying to secretly do things that were funny at the table, but then also being like, he's got to have some serious moments. And so what is it? Yeah. What would he be like in those moments?
Yeah. Something that new players can fall into is definitely like leading too much into that gimmick. And that's another piece of advice I would give new players is remember that D&D is a social game, and to really explore its full potential, you have to interact with other players and NPCs. And if you choose a character that they're always like leaning into their gimmick, like, and they're ignoring like important dialogue or something for the sake of the gimmick, it's like you're not like cooperating with anyone.
Yeah.
Like the easiest one that people fall into is the rogue that steals everything, and then just gets the party into trouble because like, oh, it's my character to steal everything, but you don't have to steal everything. Like you could steal something that you think look cool or nice, but don't like, if we're talking to someone important, don't like try to rob them.
Yeah.
while we're talking to them.
Yeah. No, I think there's nuance that, I mean, I've thought of having a rogue where he's always like trying to score all the time. Like I've thought of that idea.
Yeah.
But in my mind, you can get to that being so simplistic, but like the actual idea of like robbing every single person you run into is kind of crazy and ridiculous.
Yeah. And not just get you into trouble, but your whole party.
Your whole party.
And you might run into a situation where not just the characters are mad at you, but the players are mad too.
Yeah. But I think it's like fun. Like, I mean, I love the idea of, robbing people all the time. But I think there's a way to do it where it's not like dismantling the campaign, or like in my mind, talking to the DM about like, is there stuff that I would automatically succeed on? I mean, like, I don't actually have to roll for it or announce it at the table. I just like, we get back to the tavern and everybody's getting ready to go to bed or decide what's going on the next day. And you're like, oh yeah, like when we were at so-and-so's shop, I like walked out with this, like, and maybe making it more nuanced. But I also think there's definitely times where you can fall prone to overemphasizing like a shtick or a gimmick, and to the point where it makes it to where, though it was the thing that kind of centered your character and gave you that diving board into more depth, it can become simplistic to where like that's all your character does.
Yeah, I think the concept of a gimmick should be what you fall back on, not what you default to, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I'm always trying to explore different ways to be this character. Like, what would they do in this situation if I'm thinking, like, trickster? What would they do if this situation doesn't go their way? Like, think about what kind of options do they have instead of defaulting, like, oh, I use a mind trick, you know?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Yeah.
So what originally got you into D&D?
JD invited me to a game, and I didn't been invited to a game like a year prior, but I thought it was like a board game thing. I didn't really know what D&D was. Honestly, I thought about going to this game, but it just never worked out, as so many campaigns die. Like that, there's an idea, and it never gets off the ground because of scheduling, or it's usually scheduling.
It's always scheduling.
Yeah.
Scheduling is a nightmare.
Yeah. So I went to just watch, and then I already told the story. Like, I ended up playing.
No, that's super awesome.
And then, I enjoyed it. I think what made me want to keep going is realizing, well, I just thought it was fun, first of all. Like, nerding out with my friends. Like, I don't think I had ever encountered a hobby outside of, like, gaming, like video games, where I could, like, hang out with people and we could do something that I thought was really fun. Like, growing up, I didn't really get into like sports or clubs in school. So this kind of felt like the first time I felt like I fit into like a group, like outside of church or like a youth group or something, like something to do and hang out, to do regularly and just have fun. And I've learned to appreciate other things about it over the years. But
yeah, I think one of my favorite things about D&D is the community aspect.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that I have grown friendships and learned more about people from how they respond to situations. And I think like it's generally something that tends to be more dorky and nerdy and more prone to like people who are really into certain genres. But it's also one of those things where I think it's so cool that you can literally sit in a room and talk for a few hours and not technically be doing something physically, but you're doing something together. And it's kind of that really fun, enjoyable thing of going together, telling a story, and then even just learning about each other and riffing off each other. And I think it's one of those things where D&D provides this unique opportunity that I don't feel like we've had, like people don't do anymore. And yeah, I get it. Like not everyone loves board games, and some board games are really uber cheesy, and it's not the ideal situation, but it's like being around a table, talking for 2 to 3 hours and just spending time with each other. Like it's one of those things. It's like most people have, I mean, yes, people have devices, but most people are not fixed on their devices. They're not on social media. It's like one of the, I hate to say this because I'm trying to not be addicted to my phone, but it's like one of those few times during the week where it's like, I'm not online. I'm not searching for things unless it might be like, you know, trying to figure out something about a stat sheet, but it's really spending quality time with people. And I feel like I have friendships that just because I play D&D with them that have been strengthened, and being able to handle these kind of like critical thinking things together and really vibe. And also, you know, sometimes we fail together or we do funny things. Okay?
Yeah. It is a great way to get some quality time in, for sure.
What do you think is one of the main reasons why you continue to play?
One, I think everyone else that I play with would be upset if I didn't play anymore. So don't want to let them down. But that's not the main reason. But yeah, I'm sure everyone thinks this, but like making stories together, enjoying stories. I really like movies, and I really love, like I mentioned earlier, those like awesome character moments that are well earned, and you get to see like everything come together in the story. I stick around for those for sure.
Yeah.
Whether I'm DMing or playing, like I'm just like waiting for them to happen, because
definitely.
The fun part about D&D is like you're not always sure when they will, but they come, and then you're like, it was a cool moment. You know, even if it wasn't like my character's moment, we had some pretty great moments. Our last campaign with one of the other players, he had a moment. Well, his character had a chain that he had used as a weapon a lot, and it was kind of symbolic of the bondage that he had dealt with, this connection to evil that he had dealt with his whole life. And there was a moment where he kind of broke ties with that, and very symbolically, he threw the chain into the sea. And for me, that was like a really cool moment to sort of be there for, that was really fun.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of my favorite parts of playing is we get to tell stories together. But I'm very similar to you, where like I love stories that feel important, that feel like they matter. I feel like today movies, there tends to be this like habit that I've noticed lately, or trend, where they will, for the most part, feel really good and built up, but sometimes the moments don't feel earned, or they feel like this person, like I think about, and this is me, I'm probably about to get on a soapbox, but I'm going to try not to, but like I think of like Star Wars, like
the newer ones.
Yeah. I love them and I hate them. Like I really want to love them more. I mean, I used to think the prequels were pretty terrible because just George Lucas and some of the decisions he made and all the Jar Jar that's in there. Like sometimes it gets
hey, don't talk about Jar Jar.
Oh my God. I love Jar Jar, but sometimes I'm like, really? Like, this is not something I would expect Jar Jar to be doing. But there's times where I'm like, I look at it and I'm like, okay, Luke started out as like a farm boy kid, didn't know anything. And over 3 movies, he becomes a Jedi. And he's not even like the best Jedi. Like he's able to best his dad, who's in a robotic suit, who gets essentially slightly handicapped. And it's like this triumph. And then even his defeat in the end, like the Emperor's defeat in The Return of the Jedi, is them together. So like they worked together to overcome this great evil. Yeah. There's this sense where you can see the character's journey going from being the farm boy who doesn't know anything, maturing and growing and, moving past character faults and becoming this big hero. But I see it all the time now where you have like this main character, like in Star Wars, The Last Jedi, where it's like Rey is awesome at the beginning of the movies and she's awesome in the middle of the movies and she's more awesome as the movies progress. And there's never really a moment outside of loss where there's an actual setback. Like outside of somebody dying, she pretty much like always finds it, always succeeds, always overcomes, like always is able to figure things out. And so I think for me, I love being a part of stories and seeing the arcs play out, but I actually really enjoy the failures. Like I think one of the big parts of the campaign that we recently played together was the fact that I was playing a character who had failed his entire family, had failed his entire kingdom that didn't exist anymore. And that was part of his biggest motivation, was he had failed. Mm-hmm. He was greedy and had a desire for power to do the right thing, but that desire for power led to him being pulled astray. And I think it's one of those things where like I have yet to be at a table and do things with friends and tell stories of friends where I didn't get to be on those sneak peek moments, because I think naturally the way you play your character evolves with you. And I think you get to see that all the time at the table. You see people grow, you see their characters grow. And I think that's one of the things where I'm like, I absolutely enjoy it so much.
Yeah. Yeah, characters need flaws. That's another thing for new players to keep in mind when you're making a character is don't be afraid to have a stat where you're just awful, because there are certain places where you can kind of even things out.
Yeah.
Give you, like, I don't have a negative stat at least, but it's nice to have a modifier that's negative just so every once in a while, like or maybe a lot, that your character just tries things a certain way and realizes I'm just not good at that, or have something that they can, outside of stats, something they can grow in, like as a character, have like an arc, Yeah.
So what would you say is, because I've asked this to everybody that's come on the podcast, what would you say is your big hot take for D&D? the one rule that you would change, one thing that you would totally get rid of if you had the opportunity, or just the one thing that you think is silly or
I think human fighters are cool. Okay. Imagine you live in a world where there are dragons and wizards, and you decide, I'm going to take them on with my sword and my skills. And there's so much more that goes into a character than like your class and your race. Like you can make an interesting human fighter, I think. So if that's what you want to play, you should do it. You can make them awesome, interesting, especially if you spend a lot of time with them. Like let the human fighters cook. That's my hot take.
let the human fighters go. No, I think that's awesome. Honestly, I'm the player that I'm playing right now is the character is a human fighter. So I'm excited to see it play out. You know, I think it's so easy to focus on rules and systems and like classes. And I think like, I agree with you. Like fighters don't get as much love. And honestly, like they can be pretty OP. Like when you build them well and play them well, they're actually redonkulous.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that's an excellent hot take.
Thank you.
But yeah, what sticks out to me, I would say, when it comes to playing D&D is a lot of times the choices that we do make at the table. And I think, Keith, you have been someone that has helped me really strive to make choices that have meaning and impact. And similar to JD, who I also had on the podcast, you've inspired me. Like both of you guys brought me into this game and I really love it and I really enjoy it. And I can't thank you guys enough. You know, I would say I want to give a big thanks to you as we kind of come to an end, not just for this conversation, but for bringing me into Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, both of you guys really kind of welcomed me in. And I know we started with like a really small group, but it was really fun and I really enjoyed it.
Thanks, man. I enjoyed playing with you.
This is Air D&D. Thanks for sharing your time with me, man. And we will see you guys next time.